Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and since it's Women's History Month, I'm here today to talk to you about Xena Warrior Princess Season 6 episode Path of Vengeance. So this is the episode right before To Helicon and Bat. And the episode before this one is You Are There. And You Are There is a very unique and special episode because it causes both Aphrodite and Ares to get their powers back, their godhood back. Also, we see Eve in that episode. And in this episode is actually Eve's very last appearance. And so Eve is played by Adrienne Wilkinson. And I love Adrienne Wilkinson so much. When she came on this show, which is actually the only thing I've ever seen her in, I haven't seen her in nothing else. I guess she doesn't star in shows and movies I watch. I know she does some like fan-made Star Trek stuff. And I'm surprised they haven't brought her to the actual Star Trek shows yet. And so like when she played Livia in season 5, boy, that was something. Because, like, I could not believe Xena's daughter turned evil. That was something Xena did not want her daughter to do. She did not want her daughter to fall in her footsteps. But, of course, as we all know, Ares thought that Xena and Gabrielle was dead. He froze them. And then, like a dirty dog, he took her all the way to Rome and made her into Livia, the conqueror of the champion of Rome and stuff. And there she just started her crusade of murdering people and trying to take people's land and everything. And this was like a really huge thing when Xena found that out because, like I said before, she did not want her daughter to go down that path. And so, like, it caused her and her daughter to just, constantly fight each other to the point where Livia constantly got the better, one up on Xena. And it's like, dude, Xena, how's she getting her butt kicked by her own daughter? Even though she's younger, sure. But, Xena was holding back. And then it happened. Livia murdered Joxer, a very old Joxer, and it broke everybody's heart because we knew he wouldn't be back in the show unless they found some weird way to bring him back. And they did like a flashback episode, and they did an episode he was pretending to be like a ghost, and then of course they did the future episode when he got reincarnated in the body of Xena and stuff, one of those more weirder type episodes and stuff. And so when she killed Joxer, everybody wanted vengeance on her behind. But at that same time, we wanted her to be saved. So we was in confliction and stuff. Even Gabrielle was conflicted. Gabrielle, when Eve was born, because Livia and Eve are the same person. When she was born, Gabrielle's all like, Xena, I felt like we were one and we were both giving birth to your baby. That's some of that weird dialogue that they used. Even Xena felt weird by that. I mean, I get it. You're trying to say that they're like bisexual because, they've been with men in the past. Everybody keeps saying they're lesbians, but they're bisexual and everything because they both love each other to death in a romantic kind of way. But they've both been with men. And even after falling in love with each other, they still ended up with men because, time was written differently back then. But, I like to say they're just bisexual. And so, unless they're bearding each other, but I doubt that. Because they're pretty much like both men and women. And so this is one of those weird dialogue things where it's like, we get it. They're madly in love with each other. And Gabrielle's her short hairstyle and everything, but to say they were both giving birth to the same baby at the same time, that was just a little weird stuff. There's no way to get around that. But she loved Eve and everything and would have done anything for her and even put her life on the line for her, even initiated her into the Amazon tribe and everything. And then she killed Joxer. And Gabrielle has a very love-hate relationship when it comes to Joxer. He's other than Xena, that's one of her closest best friends. They're always doing stuff together. he was madly in love with her, but she never felt the same way and always had to keep rejecting him. And even though they was friends, because he wasn't as strong as Xena, she finally got somebody to pick on and beat up and everything and pinch his nose whenever he like piss off and stuff. And so, and then the messed up thing, she started having a flirtatious relationship with his son. That was so jacked up. And so, like, and then there was that one time when she actually did start having feelings for him when Aphrodite made him into like this warrior type man. So she had a lot of emotions going on through then. And so she felt the same way a lot of us did. You want Livia to get her comeuppance, but at the same time, you want her to be saved. And thankfully, she was saved in the episode prior to that season 5 finale. Season 5 finale is the best finale I've ever seen in television history. In fact, the season 5 finale might just now be my new favorite episode. It is that good of storytelling and stuff. I like that one other episode I told you about because of the action, but this one not only had action, but it had a great story. And so, like, because she's now been cleansed by the power of Eli's God and everything, or Eli, and this is never really explained. Is Eli God? I mean, Jesus, like, is he? I don't know. Like, they never really explained that. Sometimes I think he is. I don't know. Because the way they kept depicting him and stuff. But, like, after they cleansed Livia, she turned to Eve. And then they made her a little too goody-goody two-shoes. First, she was dressed in rags and she was hanging out with Xena, which I was glad she was part of the season 6 cast. And so, like... And she still had some of her fighting spirit in her, but they rarely show it because they wanted to make her an uber peace-loving person like they tried to do with Gabrielle in season 5. But it didn't really... Was that season 5? I think it was season 5. But it didn't really work out with Gabrielle. Or was it season 4? It's one of those seasons. And so, it was season 4. Season 4, that's right. When Gabrielle went on this whole, like, peace trip thing. But then they made Eve super religious and super goody two-shoes. That way it really took the fun out of her character because she didn't have that fighting spirit no more. She still had it in her, but she would rarely let it show out. And so, like... But I was still happy she was on the show until they got rid of her. I'm like, no, man, she's cool. Like, I want to see a spinoff show with her and stuff. And then they only brought her back to get rid of her again. And then they finally brought her back again. And then in this episode, I finally get rid of her again. She was supposed to be originally written to be in the finale. They wanted to get her in there. But for whatever reason, they just like crapped out and everything and didn't, which they should have, instead, like, I really wish they should have. And then this episode is equally interesting because Varia is in here. And Varia is played by Chanina Jolson. And so, like, it's funny because her name is spelled with a T. Like, her name is spelled T-S-I-A-N-I-N-A. And that doesn't look like Chanina and everything. But hey, whatever. It's a cool sounding name and everything. And people love and hate Varia. Because when Varia first, like, was introduced, she was, like, well, she wasn't bratty or so. It was more like she was just a normal, cool Amazon. And then when she found out who Eve used to be, Livia, oh, she wanted her dead. And then when we saw her next, like we saw Xena training her and trying to get her on a path of being the leader of the Amazons because the original leader had like died from this man. And so like... we haven't really seen her in a while, and then we finally get to see her again, and this episode happened. And, I love Chanina so much. Like, when you watch like her and Xena, like seriously, you will understand why I wanted her to be Wonder Woman. Either back in that 2011 TV show that never got made, or at least in the DCEU. And I don't even care how old she is now. I want her in the DCU and everything. Like, she looks like Wonder Woman. She can fight like Xena and Wonder Woman, and she knows how to do acrobatic stuff on her own. She would have made like a great version of Wonder Woman, man. And so like the whole Eve and the whole Varia situation, it was very reminiscent of Xena and Callisto. Like, it's parallel from one another. I love that. That was some good storytelling and stuff. And here, like, you love Varia, but you hate her in this episode because of what happens. And so basically what happens in this episode is that Eve was banished from the Amazon nation after the first episode of this season. And it's because when Eve was Livia, she raided the Amazon tribe and she killed many of their members, but then the ones that were alive, she sold into slavery. And so that's all we ever knew about that. And now this one explains it a bit more, and we get a flashback that helped, like, set the visual of it. And so this episode is sometimes confusing because of the dialogue, because there are events in here that almost seem out of place. And not only that, but when it comes to the Roman dudes, that really felt out of place. See, in the original script, it was said that Eve had a relationship with the new emperor of Rome, Claudius, and everything. Now, they never make mention of Claudius. The last one was Caligula, and we saw him and Xena, siphoning the powers off of Aphrodite and just being crazy in the head, and then Xena killed him. What they left out is that Caligula was actually a mama's boy. And he is one of the reasons why Christianity overtook Rome and everything. His mother was a Christian, and she raised him in Christian ways, where he departed from that of the Roman many gods, of the pagan gods and stuff. And so he had a big influence on Rome accepting Christianity from the Britons and stuff. And they left that part out. But yeah, he's also crazy in the head. I forget who kills him. I think his brother had him killed or something like that. I can't remember which one. But anyway, Claudius is now the new Roman emperor, and there's never no mention of him by name. It just shows Eve walking in the woods and her new Indian-inspired outfit. And like, you have the Roman guards come in because Varia told the Amazons that she saw some Romans and they had to be taken out. And this is around the time the Amazons have finally decided, you know what, we're too scattered around the world. We need to unite as one so we can stop getting picked off by like our enemies and stuff. And so this is when they wanted Varia to be their number one queen to rule them all. And we get to see them from many, many different tribes and stuff. And they all had a unique look to them. Because, of course, they're from around the world. And, of course, this later went into the Helicon and Back episode and stuff like that, where all of them ended up dead except for, like, 12 of them and stuff. And so, like, it never made really no sense as to why the Romans wanted to protect Eve. But they said it's because of the new emperor and everything. He wanted you to have, like, some security. And I always thought that was weird. I'm all like, how is she keeping in touch with the people in Rome and all this other stuff with the peace talks and everything? So that part was never explained. And it was rushed because this is the last season and it's getting towards the end of the series finale. And so, of course, they are attacked. And all the men are slaughtered except for one who finds Xena and tells, Xena what went on and how the new queen has kidnapped Eve and stuff like that. So she can be put on for, executed, actually. Not even a trial, really. So of course Xena goes and her and Gabrielle go to the Amazon nation, and like they want to know why they want to. Well, they know they're gonna murder her because of what she did and stuff, but they're trying to plead their case while also staying respectful of their laws. There we meet the new Cyan, who was played by another Amazon. She played another Amazon in season 5, and when I saw this, I'm just kind of like, okay, it's the same actress and they make no reference to how she looks like that one character from season 5. Now they do this all the time in Xena. They recycle actors and actresses and stuff. But this one just happens to be an Amazon. So then I stopped and I thought to myself, okay, maybe, just maybe, this is that same person. Maybe she was like a teenager back in like season 5, and now all of a sudden, maybe she's an older adult who just doesn't age that much and just still looks the same. That was my first guess, but now I'm starting to think maybe she's a descendant of that person. And Xena and them never make no reference to this, and it's just kind of like that's the part that gets so confusing in this episode. And so like, she snitches on Varia and tells Xena, not everybody follows, the path of like, Varia and everything, and how she wants to execute like, your daughter and blah, blah, stuff like that. So in a way, they go there and they're trying to plead their case and stuff like that. And Varia tells them like, what Eve did as Olivia. Now, one thing that's interesting in the beginning of this episode, when we see Varia, when I saw this, I'm just like, hold up, whose sword is that? And at first I thought it might have been Callisto's sword, but I'm like, no, wait, hold up. It's Livia's Roman sword. I'm like, how the heck did she get that? And everything. I was just like, that was kind of weird. I thought, okay, maybe it was just, maybe they ran out of a sword and they just gave her that. But no, it's part of the story. And so after Xena started talking to Gabrielle, they explained where that sword came from. Xena is all like, did you see what kind of sword she had? And she's all like, the last time she had that sword, she was Livia, which means Ares gave her that sword. So it's like, wait, hold up. Isn't Ares supposed to be good now? Because ever since the finale of season 5, he's been good. You know what I'm saying? And he was manipulated in season 6, episode 1. But then we found out, like, after all that, he lost his powers and everything. And he started, like, being a farmer. And then he started being a good guy again. And then he got his powers back in the other episode where he wanted Xena to eat the apple and be his queen. But other than that, he was still a good guy. So what the world turned him evil again? So Xena has like, a talk with him and everything. And at some point, and so he talks to her in a very interesting way. She's out in the field, she's looking for him. And originally this was supposed to be set in his temple, but they just didn't do it for whatever reason. And so she's out in the field and she's just like looking for him. And all of a sudden you can just hear his voice like echoing like a god in the clouds and stuff. And then Xena starts to look all erotic, like she's about to like explode, if you know what I mean. And then we see like a hand on her waist, and so like it's glowing red. And then this Ares appears. And he's telling her the story of the scorpion and the swan. This story has been retold with so many different animals, but it's mostly a scorpion type animal or a snake or something like that. And it gets on the back of another animal as it goes across like the river. And then it bites or stings the person or the animal that like made it go across. And the animal asks, yo man, why did you sting us? Now we're both gonna drown. And he's like, well, it's just my nature to do that and everything. And so he lets her know, that's just who he is. He is the god of war. He has to have like war happen and everything. And so like the writers said they wanted him to go back to his evil ways, but they wanted him to be sympathetic. And it makes sense as to why he's doing what he's doing. When Ares lost his powers a couple of seasons ago, people started turning what was it? Did they turn evil? Something like that? Because he's lost his powers before and people have acted weird as a result of that because, the Greek gods are tied into like the other Greeks and stuff. And every time he loses his power, people go nuts in the head and start harming people. And so when he had his powers back, but they never showed people going crazy as a result of him losing his powers during season 6. So that was kind of weird. And so but it does make sense because he has to keep his godhood up. He has to be who he is. And, he has to, get some high ranks within his followers because he lost some and stuff. And so Xena goes back to, the Amazons. And at this point in time, Gabrielle has put herself on the council and stuff. And she wants to speak for, that of Eve. And so, Xena forces Eve to tell the truth as to why she wanted to make the Amazons of all people into slaves, and because they're fierce warriors and stuff. And so this is the part that also gets a little confusing because we've seen Amazons being made into slaves multiple times, normally by that of a god. It happened in Young Hercules and it happened in the Adult Hercules series. So it's not like they've never been made into sex slaves before. And so another part that's confusing is that Xena whispers to Eve, telling her that Ares is leading the Amazons and stuff. I don't know why she would whisper that, because it made me think that the other Amazons did not know that Varia is being controlled by that of Ares. And because when she mentions it to them, and Varia is all Ares is going to lead us to victory, blah, blah. It made it seem like the other ones didn't know, but they did know from the start and everything. So this is what's always been confusing about the writing in this episode. But then we get a cool flashback. And basically the flashback shows, Ares seducing that Olivia, which is so gross because that's Xena's kid and everything. But I don't think he knew that, did he? No, I don't think he knew that at first. Or maybe he did. I think he did. And stuff. But he didn't, he did know that it was Xena's child, and he still, did her and clickety-clacked with her and stuff like that. And so, he's seducing her, telling her, he has this friend, Gagon, is it Gagon, I think his name is? This evil dude from back in the day. And so he's all he would love to have some Amazon because it's so exotic and blah, blah, stuff like that. And so, he just convinces her to, kidnap them and stuff when she didn't want to. And she does it anyway. So we get to see, the earlier flashback of how Livia went to the village. She attacked and killed as many Amazons as she could. She knocked Varia out, and Varia was so young. And so she saw her sister getting shackled and going to be made into a slave. She wakes up to try to kill Livia, only for Livia to do that special move, the toss move and everything. And then her sister gets in front of her, and cold-heartedly, Livia just slashes her sister and kills her. And of course, because of this, the Amazons, when they first heard this other flashback, they sympathized with Varia. Even Gabrielle sympathized with her a little bit. And so, when Eve told her side of the story about how Ares wanted all this to happen, the Amazons still voted to convict that of Eve. Even Gabrielle did, which was shocking. Even shocking to Xena. And so her and Xena having this huge argument and everything. Well, Xena just doesn't even want to be around her at this moment. And this is the part where also I keep thinking they keep letting Gabrielle down as an Amazon queen. Why in the world would you vote when you knew Ares manipulated that young girl and stuff from she was born? And so Gabrielle's all I would have got kicked off the council, and then Eve would have never had a voice. Well, Eve still didn't have a voice from Gabrielle and everything. And what made her think she would have got kicked off the council? She most likely they would have had another trial and everything, and they'll have to plead their case some more. But then maybe she thought she'll get kicked out because Gabrielle is one of the worst Amazons ever. She's an Amazon queen who is never there. And so maybe they would have saw her as an outsider and everything, or just sympathize with Eve because she's Xena's daughter. And because, Xena has literally told him, I have helped out the Amazons like so much and everything, because she really has. And so because of this, she like, goes back to like Ares and stuff. And there's a funny bit about it, like, she's talking about, I can smell you, and he's just sniffing his armpits. You gotta give it up to Kevin Smith, dude. Not the comic book dude, but the one who plays Ares. This man would have made it in America big time if he sadly didn't tragically pass away from being on this one movie set. And may he rest in peace, because this man can act. Like, he plays such a great bad guy. I've never seen another bad guy with this much charisma in my life. And this man played him to a T. And so, like, he tells Xena, he knew, because, when what was it? He tells Xena, like, he knew that one warlord dude would never have taken, like, the Amazons and stuff. That he's pretty much, like, been planning this for like a long time. And like, he didn't even know that Eve was gonna like come to the Amazon nation and try to talk peace with them and everything. She was not part of the plan. His plan was to have the Romans and the Amazon fight in a huge war. So, Xena lets all the Amazons know all this crap and stuff like this at some point in time. Then we have Varya go and talk to that of Ares, and he pretty much lies to her and stuff, to the point where, like, he's all like, that warlord would never have taken them, but she did it anyways. And what she did was even worse. He said that Livia threw the Amazons over the boat and had them drown. Now, there's a good possibility he did not lie. Because think about it. Where exactly is those Amazons that got sold into slavery? You'd think they would have made an episode where they went overseas and went and rescued them. I mean, they did it with Gabrielle's niece and everything, And so, like, so maybe he wasn't lying and stuff. And so she basically just murdered those Amazons for like the fun of it and stuff. And there was a really cool, interesting part in this when Xena fought, like, not Livia, but Var. And she realized the only person who knows this move are all dead, which means Ares, is like, teaching her and stuff. And so, like, basically, in a way, Gabrielle, she wants to challenge Xena to, like, I'm getting my names messed up. Gabrielle wanted to challenge Varya for, like, her rite of passage and stuff. If Gabrielle can win, then, of course, she can take over the Amazon nation and, like, free, like, Eve and stuff. Well, I don't know what made Gabrielle think she can take this girl on. Not only has this girl been trained to fight like an Amazon, but she's been trained to fight by Ares and Xena, whereas Gabrielle has only been trained by that of Xena. And so they had their match, and the writers said it's supposed to be like a wrestling match. And there was a point where Xena's supposed to oil up Gabrielle. Lord Jesus, have mercy. That's some perverted stuff right there. But when you watch this, it doesn't look like a wrestling match. It looks more like a kickboxing match. Now, fun fact, both Chanina and Renee actually did their own stunts for this fight, and they did an amazing job. So when you see Gabrielle and like Vara again flipped around and like hand tossed around and everything, that is them. That is some commitment. Well, of course, she beats the snot rockets out of Gabrielle and everything, which is a little shocking because Gabrielle has been fighting ever since season 5. In more hand-to-hand combat type stuff. She has taken down grown men. She has even fought Ares and everything. And she got her butt kicked by an Amazon girl who's about 10 years or 20 years younger than her and stuff. And so, like, Xena now realized she has to do what she has to do. So, of course, now, one thing that didn't make no sense in here is that Xeno's all like, let me fight Varya. And Gabrielle's like, no, it's against the rules. Well, we've seen Gabrielle choose Xena as her champion before, twice actually. And so that's not against the rules. So the writers must have forgot that. And it literally happened in season 5. So they must have really forgot that. And so, like, of course, we get this amazing fight between that of Varia and that of Xena. And it's on a big skyscraper platform. And it is amazing. It's one of those, huge Xena battles, which I miss so much. You don't see that kind of fighting anymore in television. Now it's all super choreographed. I can't talk. It's like all this super. I cannot talk. It's all this super like choreography where it looks like martial arts and like Hong Kong movie type stuff. It's never that like, Xena level type like fighting, which of course they use martial arts, but they also use other stuff. And so Xena is actually getting her butt kicked at some point, but then of course she's kicking more butt. And so Xena had this all planned out. She wanted to lose just so she can tell Varia, if you really want your vengeance, then take it out on me. And then so she disarms herself and walks away. And there we get it. It's a nice callback. See, in the first episode of this season, Eve taught Varia that toss flip move, which made her know for a fact that that is Livia. So Varia uses that same move on Xena, and then she uses the same move again that Livia used to try and kill her sister. Varia notices, wait, crap, dude, I am becoming like Livia and everything. I'm using her moves. I'm using the same move that killed my sister. So because of that, she breaks down and cries and gives up. And she needed to be hit smack dab with that big emotion for her to give up this path of vengeance. And so she frees that of Eve and everything. And Xena and Ares, they talk a little bit. And then the saddest moment of them all came again. Eve lets Xena know, yo, I'm headed to east to the land of Chin and everything to spread the word of peace. And this broke my heart because I thought she was going to be on the show permanently since it's getting near the finale. And so, like, this is now sadly the last we ever see of Varia, the last time we see of Eve. I'm not sure about Ares. I don't know if the reincarnated episode happened after this or before this. It probably happened after. So in that reincarnated episode, the last time we see Kevin Smith as Ares. But this was a very, very good, emotional, action-packed episode with a great like flashback that helps set the mood and like everything. Happy Women's History Month, everybody. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.